a state of dissatisfaction. We are basically simply concerned about our own dissatisfaction and cannot really endeavor much to do anything much for others. So to be satisfied, that's also mentioned as one of the three things, actually an important thing. Because we can understand this. If we're not satisfied, then it's very difficult to think of others or see others. But if we are satisfied, then we have energy, we have surplus, strength to also think of others, to think of others' welfare. So, and then controlling the mind and senses. So we can say that our endeavor actually to control the senses, to control the mind and senses, that's also achieved if we endeavor to follow the Lord's order, which is to chant the holy name, and also the orders of the church to distribute the books, to engage in the deity worship, all the orders we have received from Srila Prabhupada, to engage in those activities. That means controlling the senses, from sense gratification. If you take, instead of allowing our senses to be diverted into sense gratification, if we simply endeavor to follow the instructions of the Acharya, the spiritual master, then the senses are automatically controlled. So that's how we control the senses. And we find that the most important instruction, that is this chanting. It is also stated, I can't really remember the reference, but I believe Tamal Krishna Goswami stated it like that 99% of our progress, it comes from the chanting of the holy name. So that activity itself of chanting the holy names of the Lord is a very important item where we endeavor to control our senses. And we should understand also a bit what it means to control our senses when we chant the holy name of the Lord. Because there's actually a way to chant the names which is actually not so very controlling the mind and senses, and a way in which you can say we are endeavoring to control our mind and senses. And we may have experience of this, that when we chant the names of the Lord, that the mind goes everywhere. It becomes like the mind goes on a tour across all the world and maybe all different parts of the universe. Like the mind, like that, it goes very freely everywhere. And then at the end of it, what round am I chanting? Was it number 6 or was it number 9? We forgot to count, so we come with I don't actually know how many rounds I chanted. So that type of chanting, that may be described as inattentive chanting. We're not really paying attention, to what we're doing. We're not really paying attention to the activity that we engage in, but we engage in the activity of the mind. Our mouth is doing something, and some sound is coming. But the mind is going on a completely different place. It's somewhere completely different. So that type of chanting, that is described as inattentive chanting. And that's actually, we're not controlling our mind. If when we're chanting, we're not paying attention to that chanting, if we're not attentive to the chanting, that means that we're not controlling our mind. We are failing to control our mind. Our mouth is producing some sound, but it's not the holy name in its real truth. It's an offended name. Namaparad is the offended name. And that name, offended chanting of the holy name, that's described as cooking with smoke. So the idea is that we want a result. We want a nice offering. But if we're cooking with smoke, the offering will not come. It will take a whole long time. Maybe several it is in millions of lives. It may take, if we chant, if we stick to that level of chanting before actually we get the result. So in the chanting, there's also an element of controlling the senses, and the control of the senses in the process of chanting is that we have to just hear, just focus our mind on that sound. Just keep our mind within that chanting and just allow it to be, you can say, receive that vibration. And that's very relevant because as a patient, is helpless. A patient, a terminal patient, like a dying wounded patient, he's helpless. So we will actually that condition is actually relevant to us when we chant, because we are also a helpless patient, which simply needs to receive help, needs to receive the help of the holy name. So in that condition, the helpless condition, we just receive the vibration, we just hear it and allow it to take its effect. Cheto Darpana Marginam. We allow those holy names just to clean our dirty consciousness, to come in as the purifying agent, to clean our consciousness, to heal us. And then that is attentive chanting, because then you keep your mind focused on the holy name, and the holy name, it takes effect. So to control the mind and senses when one is chanting, that is to stop the mind from going everywhere else and just receiving the mercy, just receiving the help. And if you keep that, if you don't allow your mind to go anywhere except just to receive that mercy of Lord Chaitanya, then the mind will be clean. Then Cheto Darpana Marjana. And by that endeavor, because you're putting your strength, whatever little strength you have left in your body, because in the condition we have engaged in sense gratification, we have completely depleted our strength, spiritually and bodily. We have been completely wiped out, so we don't have much strength. But whatever little strength we have, if we just apply it to simply force the mind as much as we can just to receive that mercy, then at one point the mind, it becomes possible to keep it fixed, to keep it steady when we chant, to simply receive that mercy, not just for 1 or 2 mantras, but for a majority of 1 round you'll be able to keep your mind just steady and receiving the mercy of the holy name. And when that goes on, then we can feel, we can experience that our spiritual strength, it comes back. Our life, it comes back like that way. But with the inattentive chanting, and if we're inattentive to other devotees, neglecting other devotees, and if we're careless in our service, we'll be stuck in a condition without any life in us. We'll remain lifeless. So that's actually you can say the reality. We want our spiritual strength back. We want to become suitable instruments for the Lord to give the mercy in this Kali Yuga. But in order to do that, we have to play our part. We have to engage whatever little strength we have, whatever little intelligence we have, in the proper way, according to the proper instruction of the Acharya. And then what happens is that we'll get more strength. So that's how, by endeavoring to chant the holy name with attention, as best as we can, that's how we actually benefit ourselves. And if we are able to benefit ourselves in that way, we'll be also able to benefit others. We'll be able to be merciful, able to engage as instruments of the Lord. So that we should want, And it doesn't matter, even we may have some strength, or we have very little strength. Everybody is able to, or eligible to engage themselves in this way to make advancement. And the more advancement we make, the more happiness we'll also get, the more we'll be able to access that blissfulness of spiritual life and actually become happy, actually become ecstatic in Krishna consciousness. That comes by sincerely engaging in this endeavor to engage whatever little energy in properly engaging ourselves in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So, and this is how we'll come out of our entanglement in the modes and ultimately attain the real benefit of Krishna consciousness. So I think I'd like to round off. But there is a little more to speak here, but I would like to also allow for some comments and questions. Is there anything at the present time you would like to comment? Yes, we have a
I should like to know exactly how long is it since Lord Nityananda was here.
Oh, that's 500 years. Okay. Then yes.
I just had a nice realization about the holy name yesterday. Because I wanted to, before I went out, I agreed with myself that I would try to tell every person I met to chant Hare Krishna. And just, when we say goodbye, then we make a little salute and say Hare Krishna. And I actually did that with not all the people I met, but a lot of people I met. And it was very, very nice to see the reactions, because so many people, they really just, you might have made a joke before that and they were smiling, but then when they say Hare Krishna, they actually start smiling sincerely, and you can just see in their eyes that something happens. One person even threw his arms up over the head. So
that is real mercy. So it's very wonderful that you're able to do this. That's a sign that you have yourself received the mercy of the Lord, because otherwise you wouldn't have, the strength to do this. This is actually to get somebody to chant. It is also stated, we read this earlier, that Yamaraj, he says that don't touch. Is it yet to come maybe? But no, it comes later here. You'll find out later that when Yamaraj, he instructs his servants, he says that devotees don't touch those who chant just even once. You should not take these people. These people are not suitable candidates. Like Ajamil was just once he chanted. Just before he died, he was leaving his body, he chanted. So like that he became unfit to be taken by the agents of Yamaraj. So in that way, those people which were induced to chant the holy name, they become unfit to be taken by Yamaraj. So that's actually qualifies as being merciful to all living entities. So we should try to develop this understanding how to do it, to come to that platform where we're able to be merciful like that. This is really it. This is the mercy, and we may be able to do that on our own, like on a one-to-one personal basis. But if we can't do it on our own, if we're too shy like that, we can join with the devotees and chant together, because then it becomes more easy when we're more together. Even though we're not so strong, but if we combine together and do Sankirtan, then even though we're not able to do like that, feel shy to go to person on the street like that, but we may also engage ourselves in merciful activity of giving the holy name to others by chanting together with other devotees. So this everybody should do as much as possible like that, individually and together. We should endeavor to give that facility like you did there. And can maybe if there's no more questions, I wanted to actually, because there's half of this translation. It's a very there's an interesting sentence here, and the sentence sounds like he's like a silkworm that uses its own saliva to create a cocoon, and then becomes trapped in it with no possibility of getting out. So the interesting part is it uses its own saliva to create a cocoon. So what is meant by that? How to understand this? And actually we may say that the living entity, it comes in this material world and it gets a facility by the Lord. Now we have our senses, we have strength of our senses, we can do things. Now we can go here and there if we want. So we have some facility by the Lord. We have some ability to do things here in this world. But if we use that ability not for freeing ourselves from this material concept of life, from this illusion, material concept, getting out of our illusion, if we don't use our strength for that, but engage our strength in how to satisfy the senses, acquiring so many things in this world, it becomes like the silkworm that uses its saliva, which is its energy, so to speak. It uses its energy to create this cocoon, which it becomes entrapped, and then it cannot get out. So if we acquire so many things in this world, so that's one thing which is mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction. It is it over collecting? Is that atyaha? That's atyaha. That one collects too many things in this world, and this We collect the house, a material house which we think as our house. We collect the car, which we think is our car. We collect the computer, which we think is our computer. Like that, all these things. When you have all these things, then we have to spend so much time just maintaining them, just keeping them in a fit, in a running, operating condition. So that way, when we have so many things, and we have a woman which we call our wife, and we have little people which we call our children, and which we think is all us, it's all ours, and we have to maintain this, we have to keep this in a good condition, then all the energy is spent for that. And this is why it's also andakupam. It's also described in Bhagavatam that family life it describes a deep dark well. Material family life describes a deep dark well because it's full of all paraphernalia that one has to carefully maintain and be worried about, and also one's family members themselves. So when all the energy in that way goes to material maintaining these things, then it becomes like the cocoon, and then we cannot get out. So the important lesson for us is that we should not over-collect things, and it's very difficult in this day and age because we're all full of gadgets, mobile phones, smartphones, iPhones, iPad, like that. It's all glittering. You have to get this. If you get this thing, then your life will become perfect. Then you'll be satisfied, isn't it? That's the whole advertisement idea. Is to buy all these gadgets. So we get the whole cupboard full of gadgets, and we have to keep these things updated, and the latest, keep these things in nice running condition, and be worried if somebody comes and steals them, because this is, of course, we spend a lot of money for these things. So the one practical instruction we can take in that regard is that we should be a little bit careful, or should be endeavor to be careful, that we don't waste our energy too much in having too many things. I know it's difficult. I know I'm not a good example of that myself, and I'm suffering with that. Instead of being simple, we want to become complicated, and but that's not good. We're cheating ourselves. We're wasting time in that way, and it's not favorable. So we should see whether or not we are maintaining too many things that we don't need, and whether that is draining away our time, like stealing time away from us, and stealing energy that we would otherwise be able to focus on Krishna, and like that, and be more of a better devotee. So I think that's the last thing I'd like to contribute with. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.